Today's video is for coaches. 5 topics to address with your families up front at the start of a season. All right, so if you're new here, I'm Dan Blue. I'm a former pro pitcher, and I used to own my own baseball and softball academy called Warbird Academy back in Illinois. We sold it 4 years ago. We were big on communication up front when kids made the team in the fall, and we were starting fresh. Here's our expectations. And we were very, very careful to try to pick the right families who are going to abide by this, and then also to lay things out up front so people could say, look, these are our policies, this is what we try to do, we're being transparent, so everyone's on the same page, and then we can move forward from there. So here's some of the 5 big ones that we tried to hit every year up front to make sure families understood. Number 1, how and when to contact you if they have a problem. And this is a couple different things. Number 1, is it the team's head coach first? Should they go above to like the GM of your organization? It depends on your structure, right? Like I was one of the 2 co-owners of our academy. I was also the head coach of one team, and I would sort of rove and help the others. So there was always a dynamic of, do they go to their head coach first or do they go to me? Like, where do we want them to go? And is it text? Is it email? Is it a phone call? Is it Zoom? And how often or how long should they wait if they have a problem? So they have a real big issue with something a coach did on a Tuesday night game. Should they fire off a phone call to that head coach right after the game or confront them afterwards? Or what do we want to do with them? Do we want to say, hey, wait 24 hours and CC Dan on the email when you email the coach, or call them, or how well do texts get conveyed? Lay out how you want people to contact you and when, and what are the proper channels. This will make a big difference, eliminating a lot of headaches if you can do this up front. Number 2, our organization, we laid out how to talk about playing time. This is a big stipulation. This was one of the key things that we said, we're going to treat your kids like adults when it comes to talking about playing time. We don't treat 13-year-olds like they're actual adults. They're not. They're not little adults. But it's a good time for them to learn how to talk to adults when it's a conflict, when it's not easy, when they have maybe don't want to know the actual answer to something. So what we would say is, if you have playing time concerns, your kid needs to talk to the head coach first. And I think that's a really good policy to put in place. We don't want mom and dad emailing us asking about playing time. Your son or your daughter or whoever, they can easily talk to the coach first. And then if that's not good enough, if that's not a good enough resolution, then the parents can be involved after that. But the first line of communication for us was, kid is going to talk to us, even if they're 11 years old, about playing time. We'll have a discussion, and then we can go from there. Number 3, how you plan on allocating playing time as an organization or as an individual team. This is also important. We were upfront about this so people knew what was going to happen. We said basically like, look, this was our policy. We said, look, the top 6 players are going to stay on the field most of the time, right? We're not going to have the 4th string shortstop playing shortstop very often at all. If you want to play shortstop most of the time, you better be the best shortstop. And to have a successful team, there needs to be a core of players who are out there keeping the game running well. That's just like the way these depth charts work. You have to have a core of really competent players, especially at key positions like pitcher, catcher, shortstop, center field, first base. If you have a first baseman who doesn't catch well or a catcher who can't catch well, the game breaks down fast. So we said, look, the best players are going to get much more playing time than everyone else. But the bottom half of players, the roster 6 through 15 or 7 through 15, they're still going to play a lot. We're not here to put anyone on the bench the whole season. That would make no sense. It wouldn't be good for your money, for your time, for your kids, anything. But kids do need to have aspirations of getting more playing time. When they work harder and gain skills, they're going to get more playing time. But we laid it out very clearly. This is what to expect. No one will sit the bench the whole year. Absolutely not. Everyone will get playing time every weekend, but it will not be equal. And it just depends on the age. If it's 10U, it should probably be equal, but it will be equitable, right? How good you are, how hard you work, all those sort of things are going to be factored in. And we made it just very, very clear. So whatever your criteria are, lay them out for people. This is what to expect. If your kid is the 10th best player on the team, I know there's different positions, so it's not that easy, but say they're the 5th best outfielder, they have an idea of what kind of playing time that is going to correlate with, right? And if they're one of the top 3 players, they know that they're still not going to be out there every inning of every game. And we didn't play kids every inning of any game either. We moved them around, got them lots of different experiences, got them in different situations, put them in places where they could succeed or fail, got some adrenaline-filled situations. Like, we tried to spread out as best we could, and I implore you to do that. But whatever your situation is, let parents know ahead of time what to expect in the way you allocate playing time. Number 4, your injury policy. This is really important because as a coach, if you don't have parents and kids communicating with you, or if they don't know that they should be telling you certain things, then you might be putting them out there in harm's way. You don't want to be starting a kid who's got elbow pain. And if you don't know that he's got elbow pain because his mom and dad and he didn't tell you, well then, you didn't know that you were putting him in harm's way. So it's important to talk about the threshold for pain. Like if they have a 1 out of 10 on the pain scale, pain in their knee, do they need to tell you? If they have something from 2 years ago, do they need to and that injury has since been resolved, should they tell you about it? Basically, I would implore your families to give you a pretty complete injury history of anything that could be relevant and ask them to say, look, just tell us. If your kid has anything going on, let us know so we can have a conversation about it. So I, as a coach, make an informed decision about what to do with you. And also, it needs to be a two-way conversation about what you expect as a parent because no one wants their kid to get injured. And so if you don't know, is the coach, if I tell the coach that my kid has a little bit of arm pain, is coach going to start him? What is coach going to do with the information that I give? It needs to be a two-way conversation about what's the threshold for alerting coach that you have some sort of pain or illness or whatever it is? And then what do you expect coach to do? If I get that information, what am I going to do with it? Are we going to put you on the bench? Are we going to put you in a different position? Like, how's it going to go? Are we going to wait a week? When do you go see the doctor? If you've been having pain for 1 week, should you go see the doctor? We're not medical professionals as baseball coaches, so we have to be cautious and make smart decisions, but also you as a parent have to do the same thing. There's some parents who would be like, oh, you're fine. A little arm pain, that's fine. That's normal. It might not be normal. You don't know. And it can become really contentious if a dad says, well, he's got a little pain, but I want him to pitch through it. I want him to pitch anyway. But the coach says, I'm not comfortable with that. I don't want him to pitch. Who sorts that out? How do you go sort that out? That probably needs some third party, right? So this stuff is important, and make sure that the communication is very complete and that this is laid out with your families ahead of time. And the last thing that coaches should address with their families, number 5 here, is behavior in the bleachers and behavior between parent and coach, parent umpire, parent and their players. Here's a couple examples. It's terrible when a kid goes up to bat, takes a swing, and then looks into the bleachers at his dad or at his mom for their approval. Or dad's going over after each at bat and calling him over to whisper advice and tell him what to do for his next at bat. That's a hard line our organization. We did not want that. And what we told our families was, we want you to treat this the same as a recital or a musical performance. You'd be embarrassed if someone screamed out, make sure you hit that D minor or that E flat, or don't forget your lines in the middle of a play, right? It's quiet. And sure, sports are not that same quiet environment, but the role of the parent, in my view, is just to be a cheerleader. So you can yell anything that's positive that you want, cheer your team on, but you are not there to coach. You are not there to berate the umpires or berate the other team or to do anything like that. And so we said, we want you to foster a recital environment, be a cheerleader, be a supporter, but you're not there to coach. Kids should not be looking to you for advice in the stands, and you should not be critiquing coaches, umpires, or anyone else. That was our policy. But whatever your policy is, you need to lay that out ahead of time so when these infractions do occur, you can go back and say, look, this is what we are about as an organization or as a team. You broke these rules. What are we going to do to fix this in the future? So hopefully if you're a coach or you're in an organization, this video was helpful, kind of laying out some of the expectations and some ideas that you could talk about with your parents. But again, the biggest thing is having this stuff out on paper and discussing it in person before the season gets going, really when they make the team and you're sort of orienting all the new families. The more communication you have, the better the season's going to go, and the more you can start to figure out if people fit what you want in your organization. Because obviously everyone needs to get along and everyone wants to have a good time and see the season through in the most positive way that they can. All right. Thanks again for watching. Check out the resources in the description below, my books, online courses, other free stuff as well. Be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you here in the next video.